Hey guys, it's Cruz here, and as you can see, we're back playing the Crystal Palace Master League, the third episode of the season. I'm probably gonna stop saying what number it is because I don't even know anymore, because every goddamn episode starts the same. So yeah, in this episode today we have 3 matches for you, 2 from the Barclays Premier League and 1 from the Capital One Cup, the first round of the Capital One Cup. So as you see here, first match of the episode, we're going up against Arsenal. As you can see from Arsenal's team, they bought Tim Krul. I knew he went somewhere, so Tim Krul's on the bench, 84 rated goalkeeper, and Petr Cech is an 85 rated goalkeeper. So playing at the Emirates Stadium, I knew this was going to be a ridiculously difficult game against Arsenal because all they do is pass the ball about so much, but they don't go anywhere with it. So I wasn't really expecting a difficult game. I was just expecting a game where I would just have to close them down a lot. So that's what my team selection was sort of based upon, of that them playing the ball. Oh my god, my grammar is horrendous. They played the ball very quickly, not very quickly, actually very slowly, but they literally don't really go anywhere with it. So with that being said, like Balassi played, Cabai played, MacArthur played, but we were all sort of it was all sort of workman-like players playing instead of the actual better form, well, not form players, but the better flair players. So the only flair players I was playing was Cabai, Zaha, and Balassi, really, to be honest. But in the 27th minute of the match, I do get a strike away with Coquelin. Doesn't really come to anything. Jack Butland picks up the ball, throws it out to Much. Much was playing, that says a lot. So from the 39th minute of the match, we get a strike away. Petr Cech makes a really easy save from a Wilfred Zaha header, I think. And as you see from the stats, I actually do think I showed the stats at this time. In the 0-0 at half time, there's been 1 shot each, and I just showed you both shots. So in the 87th minute of the match, my god, it is pouring down with rain outside, so don't even blame me if you can hear it in the background. But in the last minutes of the match, we get strikes away, nothing really comes to anything. Johan Cabai in the last minutes of the match does eventually get a strike, and he probably should have got on target and would have probably scored, but missed the opportunity, and that was that. So 0-0 against Arsenal at the Emirates Stadium, and basically it was a really boring game. I mean, there were 4 shots in the game, all of which were off target. Francis Coquelin got man of the match with 6.5 rating. And into the second match of the episode. So it's against Leicester, Claudio Ranieri's team. As you can see, Jamie Vardy's only rated 75. Okazaki's rated higher than him. Jamie Vardy should probably be a lot higher rated. But in this particular game, as I said before, I was going to make Johan Cabai my captain. So that has been officiated and done officially. So Johan Cabai is now the captain. And of course, we're playing the likes of Castaignos and whatnot. And I've actually fixed the numbers now. So the likes of Castaignos is number 9 in comparison, and Maicon still number 4, stuff like that. Cabai is number 7, Jedinak's number 15, Zaha I think is number 11 or 10 or something, and stuff like that. So basically trying to make it a little bit more realistic, essentially. So with that being said, we of course kicked off at Selhurst Park. It's actually a pretty decent day at Selhurst Park in comparison to usually when it's just pouring with rain. So in the first minutes of the match, we pass the ball about, trying to get a good feel for the ball, as you'd expect. Play some nice one-touch football, and all the way up to the end of the first half, we basically come to the right-hand side, cross it into Balassi. Balassi tries to get a header away, he heads it wide, and it's 0-0 at half-time, again, against another team where I should potentially be beating them. So, in the 52nd minute of the match, my god, that rain is horrendous, and I probably might have to re-record this whole goddamn thing. Is in the 54th minute of the match, where MacArthur on the ball, runs past a couple of players, MacArthur on the ball, plays it back into MacArthur. MacArthur does a triple low tap across, and it comes to Kasper Schmeichel, just grabs it, and that was that. But in the 56th minute of the match, basically from that, Jedinak picks up the ball, doesn't really come to anything, but from that resulting kick, Fuchs takes the kick into Okazaki, and this time Scott Dan doesn't really do anything. Jack Butland actually does a pretty decent job of defending, gives it out to Wilfred Zaha. Zaha just runs with the ball, and this time I just continue to run and run and run. I have to get louder and louder because the rain outside is ridiculous, and Wilfred Zaha runs the whole pitch essentially, gets a strike away and pops in back of the net to stop our goal drought and actually potentially make us win a game against Leicester City. So pretty decent goal actually for Wilfred Zaha to score, as everyone basically ran the whole pitch. In the 82nd minute of the match here, Kasper Schmeichel tries to throw it out to Mahrez, sort of fails. MacArthur picks up the ball, runs past a couple of players, plays it into Castaignos. Castaignos takes one touch and pings it past the goalkeeper to score his first goal for the club and make it 2-0 to us against Leicester. So pretty good result for us against Leicester, especially with Castaignos scoring his first goal for the club. Of course, him being in form will help us on our journey in this particular series to try and get as far up the tables in general, and as far up the ranking in general as well. Of course, we want to try and get the Crystal Palace being number 1 rated in the world, which will probably never happen. So With that being said, 2-0 win against Leicester at Selhurst Park, pretty decent result. And as I said in last episode, I would show the table after two matches, basically after the respective matches. So as I said, match day 6, Everton beat Arsenal as well, which is just ridiculous. Southampton beat Watford 4-0. And as you see from the table, Man United are top with 15, Chelsea are second with 13, West Ham, Everton are on 11, and Tottenham, Bournemouth, us and Liverpool are on 10 points. So yeah. So going into the last match of this episode, it is in the Capital One Cup, and it is against Watford FC at the Berg Stadion for some reason, because of course they don't do regulated, regulated things for this for whatever reason. They make it so you have to play at like random stadiums in the middle of nowhere. But for this particular match, we did start with a very, very young team, and we were playing a lot of reserve players. As you see there, the camera was focusing on Nuhai, the player from the youth team, who ended up signing just as a backup centre-back. I mean, he's rated like 62 or whatever. We played the likes of Ezekiel Friars, Jordan Much, Jason Punchin, Wickham, Castaignos, Zaha, Balassi. I mean, the front four usually are playing more or less every single game every once in a while, but with that being said, Watford played their strongest team possible, and they've actually bought Zagoev, an actually really good player, which is just ridiculous to think that I could have potentially bought him, and I missed out on Zagoev, because Zagoev's actually, I think he's rated like 74 or 75 or something, or even higher than that, so could potentially be rating Watford at the end of the season for Zagoev. So with that being said, in the first minutes of the match, as you expect, down the left hand side, Ezekiel Friars tries to play it into Balassi, doesn't really come to anything, and Gomez picks up the ball. But Gomez is a horrendous goalkeeper in this game. You will see what I'm talking about when I'm just going to tell you now, I do score a goal, but it is a ridiculous goal. So in the 4th minute of the match here, basically from the kickoff, still Castaignos picks up the ball, gives it into corner Wickham, Wickham gets a strike away, and that's what I'm talking about in terms of horrendous goalkeeping. He's an abomination. He should be easily saving that, considering it's right at him, and he hits it over his head and into the back of the net. So yeah. So with that being said, in the 55th minute of the match, coming all the way up into the second half, they basically went a lot more attacking. Jack Butland had a lot more stuff to do in the second half. And in the 67th minute of the match, they went full out attack, as you see the likes of Prodl running forward, Ikechianya coming out down the left hand side. Jack Butland again doing a pretty decent job of defending, but I do a horrendous kick with him by mistake. Anya heads it down to Troy Deeney. Troy Deeney does a pretty decent job, and Zagoev plays it into Prodl of all people, and Sebastian Prodl, I think is his name, scores to make it 1-1. This centre-back scores to make it 1-1. So, in the 73rd minute of the match, Troy Deeney, not even Troy Deeney this time, Igalo had come on as a substitute. Does a pretty decent job of getting a strike away. Jack Butland, makes a mess of it essentially. But then it gets cleared off the line, I think, by Scott Dan. And then, basically from that, they were putting us under so much pressure, went all the way into extra time, and then in the last minutes of the first half of extra time, Joel Ward gets a strike away, misses the opportunity. In the 113th minute of the game, so the second half of extra time with like 7 minutes remaining, Jason Punchin gets himself sent off, or I get Jason Punchin sent off for a second yellow card for basically a tackle I expected to make and basically ended up failing with, and the referee blows the final whistle. So with a 1-1 draw, of course, in the Capital One Cup, we go into a penalty shootout. The game was just ridiculous in terms of what you expect, and the penalty shootout, of course, is always going to be hard because, of course, we're going up against Aurelio Gomez, one of the best goalkeepers in the world. I'm saying this sarcastically, and I'm actually using the goddamn laser beams from Austin Powers, using the hyphenated commas. So, yeah. So basically, expecting a relatively easy penalty shootout, to be honest. So Castaignos taking the first penalty. I decided to go a little bit bottom right, and I went bottom right. Aurelio Gomez goes the wrong direction. So, first penalty for them, I think it was Troy Deeney. Now, Troy Deeney, I think it's Troy Deeney was taking it, and I actually jumped the right way. Or Igalo was taking it. I jumped the right way, but for some reason Jack Butland just lets it go through his hand, and I was like so annoyed. But then up comes Sacco, I think, who takes the penalty to make it 2-1 to us. Actually, a really pretty decent penalty. And then this time again, Watford taking the penalty. Number 11 takes it. I jumped the right way again. He makes the save, but it goes through his hand. Why? God damn it, Jack Butland. I'm doing a pretty decent job of doing some good saves. And eventually, number 14, whoever he is, comes on, scores a penalty, make it 3-2 to us. And then number 22 for Watford ends up hitting it over the bar. I jumped the right direction, but he ends up hitting it way over the bar. So it's still 3-2 to us. Number 21, Connor Wickham takes a penalty. This time he hits it right into the top left-hand corner, like the guy who should have probably scored for Watford should have done. And then the third penalty for Watford, the 7th penalty in general, is taken by Zagoev. Zagoev takes a penalty, and As you would expect from Zagayev, he has the composure of what you would expect for a good player, and he hits it to the left and we jump flying to the right. So with that being said, they basically make it 4-3. Well, they basically make it so that we have to score our last penalty to win the match. And Butland's a bit annoyed, but to be honest, he should have probably saved 2 of them anyway. Should have saved all of them. But anyway, the last penalty taken, I think, by Jordan Much of all people. Jordan Much does a ridiculous run up like he's goddamn Ronaldinho, and I just ping it right down the middle with very little power, and we win 5-3 on penalties. So is the Capital One Cup in our range? Potentially, yes, but do we really want it? Not really. I mean, I care more about getting Champions League football than anything else. So let's see from the stats: 5 shots, 4 on target. Connor Wickham for some reason got man of the match. I'll never understand that. And from the other results, Man City are through, Sunderland are through, West Ham are through, Newcastle, Everton, Swansea, Man United, Liverpool, Arsenal. I mean, the teams you expect to be through. But in the second round of the Capital One Cup, well, third round technically, we're facing off against Chelsea. So we're probably not going to be in it for very long. So yeah, if you have enjoyed this video, subscribe to my channel for more, and catch you later.